Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with another video. So this is going to be a very serious video, probably a bit on the long side as well, a lot of my videos tend to be. But I wanted to start off with something positive. So I got this message on Twitter from Vicky and Vance saying, "I love your channel. It is great to open it, especially when I feel anxious and hear the voice of reason. It really helps heart and hug RJ on my behalf." So thank you, Vicky and Vance. They also follow me on Twitter, right? And I'm guessing they're subscribed to the channel. So thank you so much. I'm glad that I can make you feel a little bit better when you feel anxious, and I hope everybody who watches my content and is subscribed, whether you're subscribed here or you're on Rumble or you follow me on Twitter, I do hope that you enjoy the content, right? Whether you're new or whether you're coming back or whether you've been subscribed the whole way through, I always sincerely hope that uh, that you guys enjoy the content and that I'm able to get my point across. I try to be the voice of reason in this very unreasonable social media space that we all have to live and exist in. Don't always succeed. I at times can lose my temper, but I try. So thank you, and thank you to everybody who has been a subscriber and been following me, whether it's again Twitter or anything here or anything like that. Because I'm honestly very humbled and surprised that I even have an audience, that anybody listens to me, because I'm not a monetized channel. I'm not a content creator who's necessarily trying to grow. I just feel like, hey, this is something I like to do when I get a chance, it's like, maybe I'm just one voice in the crowd, right? But at least I should say something whenever I see something crazy um, going on, right? So it's not like I'm necessarily a influencer or a brand. I don't quite know how to put it. It's just that I'm not trying for any of that, right? I'm not trying to build an audience, but I have a small audience. So I guess is the best way I can put it. I'm just me. Better or worse, I am what I am, and it's all that I am. So, again, thank you for the message on Twitter, and thank you to everybody for subscribing and liking and commenting and all of that. Right. So again, I am sincerely humbled. I am thankful and sincerely humbled. So let's get into the video itself. Right, you've probably seen this covered with other content creators, and like anyone else, I'm gonna cover the same thing. But this is how do you say her name? Marina Sirtis, right? You probably remember her from back in the day as Counselor Deanna Troi on Star Trek. You may also remember her as the voice of Demona from Gargoyles and the voice of Matriarch Benezia from the Mass Effect games. So, as you will see, for the rest of this video, I will be referring to Miss Sirtis as Demona, and you will see why in a moment, because she is behaving just like Demona in this particular situation. So, she put out this tweet on February 18th, right, a few days ago, and it ended up, as many things that I cover do, in my feed. I don't actively go looking for these things. They just end up in my feed because the people I follow retweet or whatever. And that's how it happens, right? But it says here, Demona writes, right? Don't get me wrong, my heart bleeds for what Texans are going through right now. But the mean girl in me says you get the government you deserve, and they have voted Republican across the board for the last 20 years. Hashtag Beto for governor. I assume the hashtag is in reference to Beto O'Rourke. Right, so here's what I responded with. Because of course I responded, right? I know it's hard to read, so I'll read it. I apologize for how small it is. Schadenfreude. I'm probably pronouncing that very wrong. It's a German word. I hardly speak English, so I apologize. right? Schadenfreude. The experience of pleasure, joy, or self satisfaction that comes from learning of or witnessing the troubles, failures, or humiliation of another. Schadenfreude is where rather than feeling sympathy, one takes pleasure from watching someone else's misfortune. Or to put it another way, it's when you kind of act like that little kid on The Simpsons and you go, right? At someone else's misfortune, right? So as you can imagine, many people are, and myself included, are quite upset by this. So here's the thing. Am I surprised that she said this, that Texas gets what it deserves because of the state as a whole voting red? No, I'm not surprised by it at all. In fact, I found an article from 2019, right, where she said that a Star Trek fan does not equal a Republican. So she was doing an interview with some company called The Big Issue, right? So what she said, she was talking about several things, right? And what she had to say was, I don't think I can live in the America Trump has created. I really don't. Keep in mind, she was saying this back in June of 2019 while Trump was still president, right? And then she expounds on it, and she says, we're the one state, I believe she means California, that is defying him, but I travel a lot, so I come out of the bubble. When I go to other places, my heart sinks. My fellow cast members are always telling me off for being political in places where they wouldn't advise it, like Georgia. Marina, you can't say that we're in Atlanta. And I'd be like, yeah, but this is where I have to say it. I have to say things in places where they possibly don't agree with me in a way that makes them think about something, right? You feel like saying, did you watch the show? Talking about Star Trek, of course. Because you are saying the exact opposite of what the show represents. It's an oxymoron. A Star Trek fan does not equal a Republican. It doesn't. The people who I hear from on social media, I don't get how they can be huge fans of the show and my character and think the way that they do, right? She then went on to say, the thing is, I'm very outspoken. I say what I think. Well, Demona. Well, Demona. I happen to be a very outspoken woman myself. Hence why everybody blocks me when they can't win the argument. They hide behind their block buttons. So, since you're so outspoken and you think that you must speak up, right? Because there are people who disagree with you and they must hear your uniting message of, well, you deserve it because you voted Republican. Allow me, Demona, to respond. Yeah, this is the type of thing that breeds nothing but hate in a person's heart, right? So what happened is that she got into a debate. There's another article that I found. She got into a debate. I'm referencing Bounding into Comics articles, by the way. So what happens is that, and believe me, many people, I have been in her comment section several times as this has continued, and many people are taking her to task and telling her off. People who are not Republican and people who are, and believe me, yeah, she deserves it by and large. Right, so what happened is that someone named Cien Hogan, uh, I think, started going back and forth with her, right? So it's in the article. So she accuses Cien Hogan at one point of putting words in her mouth, saying, "I love how you're putting words into my mouth. Where did I say people deserve to die? I was making a point that the Republicans in the state legislature have screwed you royally for over 20 years. Thank you." Right? And then we have, where the heck is it? We have the tweet here, right? So in response to Cien Hogan calling her out, right? And this is her, in my opinion, piss poor defense. Right? I reread my tweet to make sure that I didn't say the Texans deserve to die. Do you mean the team or the state, Demona? Right? So here's what I responded with. What you forget, Demona, is the tone and intent of your words. You don't have to say Texans deserve to die. You imply it with the "you get what you deserve" tone of your disgusting tweet. Death and suffering is a consequence Texans are dealing with right now, yet you tweet this trash, right? And so, continuing on, I decided to ask Demona this, given her line of thought, given her line of reasoning. So I asked Demona this: since Republican states get what they voted for, did New York City deserve 9/11? Did America as a whole deserve 9/11? After all, America elected a Republican president, Bush too, right? George W. Bush. And the mayor of New York City at the time was a Republican, Rudy Giuliani, asking sincerely. And I totally stand by this. I am asking Demona sincerely. I want an answer, Demona. Answer me. I will give her credit. She has not, at least as at present, blocked me, which is, I have to give her credit for that much. She, at the very least, has the ovaries to actually take the firestorm that she has started, right? But I want a sincere answer because, see, her logic, her reasoning, right, with the Texans, right, you get what you deserve for voting Republican. Well, one would imagine then that, given her logic and her reasoning there, that she would most likely. Because remember, I'm not going to put words in Demona's mouth, right? I don't need her fangs biting me, right? But one would imagine, right, given what she has publicly put out there, that she would believe, right, that New York City deserved 9/11 and America as a whole deserved 9/11 because of the Republican leadership at that time, right? So here's my message to her as a lifelong, born, bred, and one day, hopefully, very far away, dead New Yorker. Tell us the truth, Demona. Tell us the truth. Tell us that this is what you actually believe, because we all know it is. Right? Using your own logic about Texas, this would be what you believe. You tried to destroy New York City and the world at large once. We all saw Hunter's Moon. We all saw that. So admit it, Demona. Admit that you believe that New York City deserved a terror attack, that America deserved a terror attack that we never saw coming, could not prepare for it, never anticipated, that we deserved it because there were Republicans in power at the time. Tell us the truth that this is what you think. I promise you, Demona, my honor as an American and as a New Yorker, you have my word that New York won't be mad at you. I won't get mad at you. AL won't get mad at you. The blood that still stains the streets where it happened, the ground zero, won't get mad at you. The thousands of people who died in New York City and in other parts, in the Pentagon and all that, they won't get mad at you. The thousands of people who died, right, they won't get mad. The people who died afterward, right, the first responders and whatnot, who lost their lives due to illness from working at the remains, right, of the World Trade Center, they won't get mad at you, I promise. The family that they left behind, the lives that were ruined, the families that were broken apart, they won't get mad, I promise you. They will be absolutely furious. I promise you that. New York City and everybody who lived, died, or who has endured afterward would be absolutely furious with you if you said this. And the thing is that whether you realize it or not, with your disgusting reasoning for how the Texans get what they deserve because of how they vote, when the issue with Texas is not their politics in this case, but the fact that they've been hit with a winter storm that they don't typically get because it's freaking Texas? Yeah, you're saying that people, whether it be 9/11, whether it be Texas or anything else, people who are Republican, or people, let's just go broader, because not every person who lives in the US or in New York or anything else is a Republican. So people who just happen to live in a city or a state or a country that has Republican leadership deserves whatever uh, nasty fallout comes from that, right? This reminds me of a comment that Sturgeon left on one of my videos where he talked about how things like grief and death and whatnot should not be politicized, but they are. And this is a key example of what he was talking about. The suffering in Texas and in 5 other states at least, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oregon, right? That that should not be a political issue. You should not be tweeting things like, well, Texas deserved it. Beto for governor. For a moment, for one godforsaken moment, can people like Demona and AOC pull the political theater down, pull the curtain down for a little bit, and actually help their fellow man out? Can they please? Because as I wrote here, no group of people deserve to suffer because you disagree with their politics. I wish Demona, I refuse to use her real name. She is not worthy of it. She wants to act like Demona, I will call her Demona. And AOC would understand that. Hate only digs the hole to hell that much faster, and we all get dragged into the pit. Could you please, for once in your sweet short life, you privileged actress, you privileged politician who can talk trash and talk tough because you're not the one in Texas or Mississippi or Oregon or Tennessee or Louisiana right now. You're not the one actively suffering. They are. And that's why you can talk this disgusting trash. That is why they can talk trash like this, because they are the ones not suffering. Hell of a lot tougher to talk tough when you're the one freezing, when you have no heat, when you have no water, when you have no food. You can talk, easy to talk, when you're not the one going through it. Now, this is something else that I wanted to briefly comment on here that I saw earlier today. So, good news. Coca-Cola donates 6 18-wheelers full of bottled water to the Texas community. So, of course, I happened to see this trending on Twitter, so I'm like, okay, that sounds good, but here's what I find on Twitter, because it's Twitter. Seriously, why is Dasani water so trash though? Right, it shows a person here, in the desert, dragging, needing water, and then turning the water down because it's Dasani. Another one. Dasani water tastes like it's been sitting in a super soaker all day. And another one. Dasani water really is bottom tier of all waters. So news comes out that a water company, or the water branch, I guess you could say, or the water brand of the Coca-Cola company is sending truckloads of water to people who need it. And Twitter wants to go and clown them. Dasani water is bad. It doesn't taste good. Right? It's the bottom tier of all waters. Shut up. Here are some of the tweets I would like to share, because these, I think, get to the heart of the matter that we need to remember. This is a friendly reminder to all those complaining about having to drink Dasani water for a bit. Flint, Michigan still doesn't have clean water. Hashtag water is life. Here's another one. Here is why the world majority can't stand Americans. When Coca-Cola hauls in 6 truckloads of Dasani water and people joke and put it down. Wake up, America. Show some appreciation. Exactly. Another one. Coca-Cola donated water to the people of Texas, but people don't want to drink the water because it's Dasani. It's water. Drink it. Exactly. Coca-Cola donated trailer trucks of water to Houston, and people are actually ragging on them because it's Dasani water. We are one effed up species. Sadly, yes, but this is what happens when people get petty, when people allow themselves to act like Demona. Because nobody was saying Jack about Dasani water until it was found out that they're sending truckloads to Texas. So, of course, because Texas now must be this politicized thing, their suffering must be, in particular, politicized because, politics, the state at large is a Republican, Ted Cruz and all this other stuff, right? We must make trying to help people during a natural disaster that they would have never anticipated because it doesn't really snow in Texas, right? We must take that and make it a political issue. And since it is a political issue, you must take a political side. And the mainstream popular right side of history is to be an absolutely hateful jackass to people who are different than you. If this is what it means to be a Democrat in today's world, I am glad I lost my faith in politics a long time ago. Because I refuse to be this damned hateful under some banner. This is this is not what any political party should be. Yes, have differences of opinion, have differences of approach, but have respect for human life. In this one, which I think brings it back to the point, right? Austin needs water. If you have the ability to bring in drinking water, please drop it off at Northwest Early College High ASAP. Hashtag Texas. And this is tweeted at Dasani Water, Evian Water, Aquafina, Nestle. And then there's a tweet from Beto O'Rourke at the bottom. Austin needs water. If you have the ability to bring in drinking water, please drop it off at Northwest Early College High ASAP. Agreed. Agreed. Because this should not be a political issue. This is a human issue. Humans are being impacted, regardless of their politics. Because not every person in Texas is a Republican. Some are Democrats, some are like me, and they don't vote, and they're apolitical, or they're independent, or whatever else. Regardless of their political position, they don't deserve to suffer. They're already going through enough. Many places, rolling blackouts, no heat, um, and no water, no hot water. They're in a really dangerous situation. Biden has, declared a state of emergency in Texas and other states. And I remember just how hard things got here in New York City when Superstorm Sandy hit, right? Hurricane Sandy hit back in 2012, knocked public transit system, the trains in particular, right out, right out. They spend years. They're still making um, uh, repairs to certain parts of the system, right? And we're now in 2021, so it's almost been a decade since that storm hit, and we're still feeling the effects of it. This stuff is serious. This is not a laughing matter. This is not a matter of, ha ha, you're a Republican state. You deserve what you get. Absolute. Oh. So here's what I said. Good on Dasani Water for trying to get water to those suffering in Texas. To those ragging on them for their water not tasting good enough, I doubt you complain when you buy a $2 bottled water at McDonald's, and you should grow the F up. What are you doing to help? And then I was responding to someone else, Mystic Joel. He had put a tweet about how someone offers water, and then they give it to the person who needs the water, takes it, looks, and goes, Dasani, I don't want it. right? So that was the tweet. I should have shown that. I apologize. And so I responded, it's like dealing with kids. No, not that one. All my cool friends say it's bad. At least with kids, I understand. They don't know any better. In this case, it's adults being petty AF and not helping. If people are going to point and laugh, then they better do better than Dasani water. And in my opinion, if you can't do better than what Dasani water is doing, then shut up. As I said previously, right? Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. This is what all of this is, right? Taking a perverse pleasure in the suffering of others. See, if this were happening to her, if this were happening to Demona, she wouldn't be happy about it, right? If she put out tweets talking about how her power is going out and she hasn't had water for days and she can't shower and she can't sleep, right? But see, she doesn't have to experience that because she's a privileged actress whose privilege, right? Whose fame, whose money keeps her away, keeps her sheltered from all this. Regular people don't have that luxury, Demona. And at a time, especially since you want people to listen to you, and you feel like you must speak out and give them a different viewpoint, right? You want to give them something to think about. Well, good. All they're going to think about is just how mean, hateful, and quite frankly, how much of a petty, spiteful bitch you were in their time of need. So, yeah, when your time of need comes, and sooner or later, Demona, it will. Don't be surprised if people do the same to you. Don't be surprised if people express Schadenfreude, if they express a perverse pleasure in your suffering, because what goes around comes around. Sooner or later, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you need the help of those who are your political, ideological enemies, and you will find that there will be no one there to help you, on your side or against you. And it's because of trash like this. Your mean girl did not come out, Demona. The person you truly are inside came out. You dropped the mask of the empathetic Counselor Troy, and you're showing just how mean and hateful you really are. That is what happened. I want to end this video on a somewhat positive note. So I wanted to just in brief talk about two people who I think really embody the message of love thy enemy, right? And that is Daryl Davis and Shirley Chisholm, right? Daryl Davis, according to Wikipedia, is an American R&B and blues musician, activist, author, actor, and band leader. His efforts to fight racism, in which as an African American he engaged with members of the KKK, convinced Klansmen to leave and denounce the KKK. Right? So that's Daryl. Where am I? That's Daryl Davis, right? I have in the links in interview. He's done several interviews talking about how he got people who were in the Klan to change their mind and everything. And principally the way he does it is by showing them humanity, showing them that they're not as different from him as they like to believe they are. In fact, if I remember correctly, he said that he ended up meeting his first Klansman because they both happened to be, I think it was a jazz show. And the Klansman didn't realize that, another black man would like jazz or whatever it was, right? So he displays humanity toward his enemy. He doesn't endorse, obviously, or agree with the message of the KKK, but he treats the members that he has encountered with humanity, with respect. And that has allowed him to reach the hearts of some. And many have either because directly of his influence, other words, meeting him or getting to know him, or indirectly have left the KKK, have given up a sincerely hateful, toxic ideology, all because someone who they deemed an enemy, who they deemed less than, held out an olive branch and said, "Hey, my name's Daryl. Let's talk." And then there's Shirley Chisholm, right? So, for those who may not know, Shirley Chisholm was an American politician, educator, and author. In 1968, she became the first black woman elected to Congress, representing New York's 12th congressional district for 7 terms up until 1983, so from 69 to 83. In the 1972 presidential election, she became the first African American candidate to run for a major party's nomination for President of the United States, and the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination, right? Trailblazer. And I want to read an excerpt from an article that Dr. Christina Hoff Sommers, who many on the internet might recognize as the factual feminist, or as some call her based mom, right? She wrote an article about her, I think, in December of last year, and I just want to read a part of it. Very, in my opinion, poignant part of this article that we need to remember in the modern day, right? So it says, but there is a good reason to remember Miss C, as she was affectionately called by supporters. The Chisholm Trail is also a path away from the politics of contempt. On June 8, 1972, Shirley Chisholm shocked her supporters by visiting George Wallace in his hospital room in Silver Spring, Maryland. Chisholm was a political progressive. Wallace, then governor of Alabama, was a notorious segregationist. They were rivals in the Democratic presidential primary, and Wallace had just been shot 5 times at point-blank range by an assassin. "Shirley Chisholm, what are you doing here?" asked the governor, who would remain paralyzed and pain-ridden for life. Wallace knew he was her nemesis, and that her supporters would be angered by the visit. Her answer brought him to tears. "I don't want what happened to you to happen to anyone," she said. They chatted and prayed together until his doctor said he needed rest. When she left, Wallace did not want to let go of her hand. His daughter Peggy Wallace Kennedy has described Chisholm's visit as altering her father's life. "Shirley Chisholm had the courage to believe that even George Wallace could change," she said. "Chisholm planted a seed of new beginnings in my father's heart." Wallace became an ally to Chisholm. In 1974, he persuaded a group of Southern congressmen to support her efforts to pass a bill extending the minimum wage to domestic workers. Later, he publicly renounced racism and sought forgiveness from black parishioners and civil rights leaders. That is the power of kindness. That is the power of putting politics aside and seeing someone who perhaps in every other way is your opposite and your enemy, and still acknowledging the fact that they are a human being and that they don't deserve what happened to them. Whether it's being shot several times, whether it's the suffering that comes with a natural disaster that no one saw coming, whether it is the immediate and after effects of a terrorist attack that no one saw coming. No one deserves that. Democrats don't deserve it. Republicans don't deserve it. Independents don't deserve it. Apoliticals don't deserve it. Radicals don't deserve it. Anarchists don't deserve it. Muslims, Christians, Jews don't deserve it. No one deserves that. What Demona embodies, the character herself, and both the actress who is now apparently embraced the toxic ideology that she at one time only gave voice to, now she seems to believe it. What Demona represents is the hatred and ultimately the self-hatred that leads to things like genocides. And of course, there are many. People want to talk about genocide as if it was only the Holocaust that ever happened. No, there was the Armenian genocide, there was the Rwandan genocide. There have been many, many, many other genocides and purges that are known and unknown. And this type of hatred, hating people because they are different, because we consider them an enemy, just because they believe or live in a way different than us, is what gives birth to people like Demona. And it gives birth to horrific things like genocides and other types of ethnic purges that leave nothing but death and destruction in their wake. This is not something that we as a people, especially in the West, especially in the modern day, should be embracing or calling for in any form, especially if you're going to end it with a hashtag of politician for governor. This doesn't help anybody. So please, let's not be Demona. Let's not embrace that type of hatred. Let's be Angela instead. Let's embrace our higher selves, right? Let's embrace our better natures. Let's embrace, right, higher love, as the song goes, right? Give me, or rather bring me a higher love. Let's do that instead. It's harder. It's much harder to empathize with people that you consider an enemy, to show love toward them, because as Patrick Buckley